And I'd like to now invite up my colleague and my boss, David Verrill, the Executive Director of the Initiative on the Digital Economy. David, take it away.
Sir. Thank you. Thanks, Leah. Appreciate it. Cheers, mate. So just a very brief digression, because I wanted to make sure that I gave a little bit of context about the book, Machine, Platform, and Crowd, and the Initiative on the Digital Economy. We are a program at the MIT Sloan School. We do a lot of research. We have about 35 projects going on at any one time with principal investigators like Andy and Eric. We host a number of events. In fact, the next one is a platforms event in July. We also are hosting a course this fall, which is a project course where we invite companies to give analytics problems to us, and we self-form teams to address those issues. We have some executive education. We have a digital fellows program where we host people and share Kool-Aid for a day, a week, a month, a semester. If you're interested in learning more about the IDE, please talk to my colleague Christy Coe or myself at Cocktails. We'd love to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing. One of the most important parts of the IDE is our grassroots activity around the Inclusive Innovation Challenge. And I'm going to ask Devin Cooke, the executive producer, to come up after we show this video. But I hope that you'll appreciate the work that we're doing. It's really at the grassroots level. It's something different than your typical academics might be doing. So please, cue the video, Claude.
The American middle class was built on the back of routine work. You can think about routine physical work, that's an assembly line worker in a factory, or routine cognitive work, that's the payroll clerk in that same factory. Both of those jobs are going away very quickly.
And one of the challenges we're facing today is that about half the population in the United States and other developed countries has not shared in this bounty that the second machine age is bringing. We can decide what the future of work looks like.
Big technology changes always force us to think hard and to do some things differently. This is one of those times.
With the Inclusive Innovation Challenge, we are seeking to identify, recognize, and reward the innovators that are using technology for inclusion, for shared prosperity.
Inclusive innovation is tech-based innovation that gives the average worker greater economic opportunity.
We should be making it easier for these new technologies to roll out and to create not just new jobs, but new goods, new services, and raise living standards.
We're looking for organizations that have solutions which are working today, and they're benefiting working people right now. They're beyond the idea phase and are in the implementation phase and are already succeeding.
The next decade could be the best decade in human history if we harness technology for the many, not just the few.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Devin Cooke. I'm the executive producer of the Inclusive Innovation Challenge, as you saw, and I am delighted to have one of last year's IIC winners, Prayag Narula from LeadGenius, with us here today. And our goal is to give you a better sense of what some of these really incredible, inclusive, innovating organizations are doing to make the future of work better for more people. So with that, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you for the prize last year.
You are very welcome. We were thrilled to be able to give it to you. You were among almost 300 organizations that applied and rose to the top among 24 other winners. So a big honor for our first year. And just for the benefit of the audience and to give you that opportunity to share what I'm sure is a finely honed pitch, why don't you give us some context? What is it that LeadGenius does?
It's never a finely honed pitch. It's always evolving. So LeadGenius is a market intelligence, lead generation, and analytics platform for marketing and sales organizations. So we help primarily big companies identify their best prospects that they can sell to. We help them identify, who are the best companies, who are the best decision makers in those companies. We help them understand how big their market is. We help them understand how to tackle a new market or how to bring optimization in the market that they're already working with. So primarily working with larger sales and marketing organization to help them, especially on the data gathering and analytics side on their sales processes.
Great. And so you described a kind of business challenge that you're solving with your organization, and people may be wondering, well, how does that make you an inclusive innovator? Andy said in the video that everyone just saw, an inclusive innovation is a new technology or a new business model that's helping an average worker have really more economic opportunity and a better future of work for themselves. So how does that people piece fit in? Like, what makes you an inclusive, innovating organization?
That's a great question. So the technology behind our products is actually a combination of machine learning, large-scale data mining, AI, and then we've combined this with a crowd of people that we have developed. It's about 40 different countries, about 500 different people that help us train the algorithms, that help us collect and validate the data, helps our customers kind of, give them that competitive advantage that they won't have with, purely algorithms. Algorithms, especially machine learning algorithms, are error prone. You cannot take them and implement them right in a business setting. You have to have some sort of an oversight, some sort of a training. So, we have about, as I said, 500 people in 40 different countries. And we kind of have an interesting history because we started out primarily as a crowdsourcing company. We were basically training algorithms for our customers. So we would have, companies. This was back in 2011, so AI and machine learning wasn't as a hot topic as it is today. These are companies that were trying to kind of build AI systems, and they would need large set of both training data as well as validation system, and we help them provide that through our crowd. Once we started kind of building that part of the piece, we had to build the sales and marketing piece to scale out our revenues. And then I have a computer science background, so I didn't know what selling was. I thought, you would just like open a stall, you build a company, and people would come and give you checks.
Use that.
Yeah, and so we had to build out this marketing, and so I went and did a crash course on sales and marketing, and realized there's this process called lead gen. There's this process of understanding the market, and and just go hire people to do that. And said, no, we can automate this using our technology. So we built kind of the system for our internal use, and then we gave it out to some of our friendly companies, and they were like, this is really good. You should just sell this. And so we basically kind of verticalized, and that's when LeadGenius was born, about a year and a half after the initial company was born. So we've always been a crowd company. We've always kind of had this ethos of, wisdom of the crowd as, one of the major innovations that have happened in the last decade is the connectedness that has been available for the first time in the world, and the implications of that. So we were always fascinated by it, and its application especially on the work side.
Right. So I'm already hearing there's machine, there's crowd, there's platform. There may be a specific strategic reason why we asked you to come today and be the final speaker of the day. But I mean, in addition to the fact that you were solving this business need for your own organization and then for other organizations, you really started as kind of a socially mission-driven organization, right? I mean, that was kind of at the core of what you were looking to do.
Right. So we were basically, I grew up in New Delhi, India, and I distinctly remember back 2001, the mobile revolution was at its peak in India, and I saw all these people that have never owned a computing device, never been connected. I didn't have a regular telephone until I was 16 years old, right? So like dark ages, right? And saw this whole, billions of people being connected, and we thought this was a big advantage of, now how do you translate that into an economic impact? So we thought this was, crowdsourcing itself was a really good way of using this new people that are coming online, providing jobs and opportunities to people in all these different areas where you don't have traditional opportunities in villages in India, inner cities in the United States, and so that's kind of how it all started. We were a social enterprise. The idea of job creation came first, and then the idea of how do you implement that to particular use cases and business use cases.
Right, so marrying that kind of realization that you had for your own startup lead gen operation with that social purpose.
That's exactly correct. Yeah.
And as you think about how you've brought on this crowd, you've provided jobs to people, and you said 40 countries around the world, right? So that's clearly a large distributed workforce that are all working very much digitally. What are you integrating into your business as good work tenets, and specifically the tenets of good digital work? Since I think that's a space that, as technology is moving so rapidly, we're not thinking as much yet about what could be coming down the pipe and how can we kind of prepare for that with what are those good tenets of digital work we should all be thinking about.
That's a great question. So we have this question as top of our mind because when we were kind of initially thinking about this idea of crowdsourcing for business use case and providing jobs, the first thing that we learned was the basic tenet of creating any technology is do no evil, right? Like you should not have a negative impact on people's lives. So from very beginning, we were very kind of cognizant of the fact that you have to think about this in the long term, and you have to think about this in a way that's actual. It's not just about giving money to people. It's bigger than that. It's about how do you think about the long-term impact of our of this new way of training systems, new way of getting work done in a way that's long-term sustainable. So we spent a lot of time thinking about not just providing job opportunities, but providing growth opportunities as well. What does it mean to be a long-term contractor with LeadGenius? So the first 2 people that we hired are still with us 6 years later, right? So they have a bigger tenure than 2 of my co-founders in the company, right? So what does it mean for someone like that to stay with us for 6 years, and what kind of growth opportunities are we providing? What kind of what kind of skills are we building that helps them either transition into a kind of a traditional workforce or become, do more fulfilling work as part of LeadGenius. So that's something that we have spent a lot of time thinking about. And initially the idea was, how can we transition these people into a regular workforce? 6 years later, I don't think that that's going to happen. I think it's about, the digital work is here to stay. It's not just part-time work anymore. We've been spending a lot of time thinking about this career path for digital workers. And we have implemented that into our own systems. As I said, the first 2 people that worked with us are still with us in very senior positions. And we have this tiered model where you start out as a researcher, then you start helping other people, and you get, you kind of climb the virtual corporate ladder. And become kind of one of the top dogs if you put in good work. So so far it has been the right thing to do, and we have been supporting other businesses that use crowd to kind of include similar principles into their business practices as well. There is this organization called Good Work Code that has actually codified some of the ideas that we initially started with. And we've been talking about how every organization that is doing any kind of crowd-related work or any kind of AI work needs to be a signer of the Good Work Code and kind of make sure that the people are being treated fairly and are making a positive impact. It's not just about giving money.
Right, and you're one of the first and largest organizations to sign on to the Good Work Code, correct?
When we first signed out, we were the largest organization. I think now Lyft has signed it, if I'm not wrong. So the tailwinds are are here. So it's exciting times.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I love most about LeadGenius and the work you do is that you really do put the people that work as researchers at the center of your business, coupled with the customers that you're working with. And to me, that is very much something that many organizations are looking at more, especially as we move from this social contract of jobs to a more distributed form of work. And making sure that we don't talk about the future of work in abstract terms, but rather think about the people that are being affected by it, which is why we're hoping that we are going to use technology to augment our talk today, because we have actually brought 4 of the LeadGenius researchers in via Google Hangout to share a little bit of their experiences with us today as well. So if the technology wants to cooperate with us on this little experiment, if you can cue the Google Hangout, that would be great.
I can see them right here.
We see them there, and there they are. So here are 4 of the LeadGenius researchers from all around the globe. We have Kirk Radway from Jamaica, who you see on the big screen right now. Christina Tink from Romania, as you'll see in just a moment. Shilpi Kumar from India, and Wills Ongesa from Kenya. So a couple questions for each of them, so you can really hear a little bit more about their experience working as digital workers, and Prayag, feel free to kind of jump in and sort of respond to some of the things that they share with us. But we'll start actually with Wills. And first, I know a little bit about your background, Wills, but if you can tell us first, how did you find out about LeadGenius, and what were you doing before you started working for LeadGenius? It's a little bit about your background.
Okay. First of all, before I was working at LeadGenius, I was a trader. I was trading in crafts. These are crafts, the carved items. Specifically, I was dealing in soapstone, which is a white rock that is carved, and wooden carvings, art, and paintings in a tourist market in another city called Kisumu, which is a lakeside city here in Kenya. And now I'm in Nairobi, which is the capital. So while I was trading, this was like my student job, while at the same time I was schooling. And there was this one time I was traveling to my village for stock, because to bring more from the village where it is carved, to bring it to the city to sell to. Now, I traveled with 2 international travelers, a couple, a lady and a man, who were also heading to my village. So as we talk and just chit-chat and getting to know each other, I told them that every village is where we have the soapstone, the art is being carved, and where we have the quarries. So I was like, oh, you can also come and see my village. And as we got to know each other, they asked me what I was doing. We asked each other about life. And they asked me how hopeful I was now that I just graduated, because I told them I had just graduated. And I told them I was hopeful, but not very hopeful, because we don't have many job opportunities in my country. And they asked me about working online, and they informed me about the opportunities of also working online.
So really it was word of mouth how you learned about this opportunity. Yeah. And
Yes.
that's perfect.
I learned from word of mouth from tourists.
Great. And
So these stories are completely new to me. Like, this is the first time I'm hearing it.
But is that a story that you hear on a fairly regular basis, that kind of word of mouth? That's how we're finding out about digital work, just in a much more traditional way.
Yeah. No, it's word of mouth is one of the, I mean, we do marketing as well, but word of mouth is one of the major ways in which we find out about us.
Yeah. And Will shared with me that actually in Kenya, they're starting to promote digital work as a way to find more job opportunities. So that was actually news to me as well, that really this is even a message coming from the government of different organizations or different countries, that digital work is something that people should pursue. So thank you, Will, for that example. And Christina, I wanted to ask you, same thing, like a little bit short about your background, but how has LeadGenius actually helped you to get up to speed and to be successful in your role as a researcher? Because I imagine that the work itself was fairly new to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Christina. I'm from Romania. Before working in LeadGenius, just to build a bit of a background, I used to be an assistant manager. I worked all kinds of jobs that involved somehow marketing and sales because I'm a marketing major. But I just hit a plateau and I couldn't evolve on a career level. So I found LeadGenius online. I applied, and it was great to see that starting with the recruiting process, I used to get help from all over the place. People were very open-minded, the kind of people that work smart rather than working hard. And all the tools they developed are very useful for our life as researchers and for clients too, because the user interface is very friendly. Anyone can manage around the tools we use. We don't spend a lot of time by searching various emails, for instance. Our Crowd Genius tool also help us to build a schedule every week. So it's very user interactive, very user friendly, and this is very important for us. It makes
Yeah.
our life so much easier.
Yeah, that's perfect. And so there's been kind of tools that you've provided to the researchers, Prayag, right, to help them get up to speed, to really ensure that there are those growth opportunities to come, right?
Yes. So one thing to kind of remember is that people are paid hourly, right? So and when we charge our customers, we charge them on like a unit of data basis, right? So it's in our best interest to generate the most data from minimum amount of work, and it's similarly it's in kind of researchers' best interest to be able to kind of be more efficient so that they can do stuff that that is only needs to be only done by humans that computers can do. So we're always kind of striving to do more and more through technology and making sure that people are being used for work that that's very specific to kind of human intelligence. So that's kind of where the entire kind of technology mantra behind LeadGenius is that. And we have done we've built a lot of tools. We built an entire platform. We've invested a lot in data science and machine learning algorithms as well. So yeah, it is just because we are a socially driven company doesn't mean that that investing in technology to make people efficient is not a big part. It actually is.
Right, right. And not only efficient, but actually have those growth opportunities like you talked about a little bit earlier, right? And actually, Shilpi, I know that you have a really interesting background and have had great opportunities to grow in your role a little more at LeadGenius too. So again, how did you end up in your role at LeadGenius, and what is that opportunity that you had told me about the other day?
Hi guys. I was area sales manager in a reputed company, Hindustan Unilever in India, for entire South India. But then post relocating to Mauritius, which is a small island, I wasn't able to work freely because of the language constraint. Hence I found LeadGenius, and LeadGenius gave me an opportunity to work with a team which never sleeps. Any part of the day, any hour, you will always find people online to help you, and that is the best skill I have gained here. That anyone will help you, and we have a team of more than 400 people which are always around to help us, along with the tools what we have, that is be it sourcing any email or collecting data in a proper way. Every tool like MailGenius for reaching out to the client by means of outreach, or generating an email by means of CrowdGenius, or inputting a data into a very sophisticated but user-friendly software that is, we call it Overdrive. These set of tools has been given to us, and another aspect of LeadGenius is like it is not like any other online organization. It is a full-fledged company who works with us. That is researchers.
Yeah, and you have an opportunity to manage a large team, kind of grow in the role that you have as well. And how many people are you managing now remotely?
I am managing 58 people with me for LeadGenius.
Right, and all done
That's bigger than
remotely.
my team.
Yeah, there you go. So definitely a good opportunity to be surpassing even the people that are employing you. And I mean, interesting that this is someone, Shilpi has moved from place to place, needing to find work in a new environment. Like providing that opportunity for people around the world is something that's very much at the core of what you do, right?
That is one of the biggest use cases that we see. In fact, it's a great story about how I found my EA, my executive assistant. She moved to Idaho, and she was looking for online work. She found out about LeadGenius, started working with us, got in touch, and she was kind of on the side helping me with my schedule. And she, I had gone through like 2 EAs that had not stuck, and we didn't have kind of chemistry. And then I was like, if you move from Idaho to San Francisco next month, I'll give you I'll make you my EA. She's like, if you have 2 months, I'll move my family. And she's like, 2 months later, she was here. She's like in the office. She's our IT person. She's my EA. She's our office manager. And so people moving into a new place and where there are not that many opportunities is a pretty big use case. And especially for women, it is a lot. It's what I've seen at least in the community is it's a lot more common for women to move with their husbands and then kind of let go of the economic opportunity that they had. Companies like LeadGenius can help.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity for more inclusion of more people that might have otherwise been left out of the workforce.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think just creating new opportunities for people and changing their lives for the better. I know, Kirk, you from living in Jamaica, you've had some amazing experiences with LeadGenius. What opportunities have you had that you might not otherwise have had if it weren't for the role you now play at LeadGenius?
Hi, everyone. Kirk Radway here from Jamaica, small island. Just a little background information. I was working with the Jamaican government in their legal department. Kind of felt stuck in the job. There wasn't much opportunity for growth. My wife introduced me to LeadGenius. And what I loved about LeadGenius at first was they actually awarded you for your hard work. So if you put in the work, you found yourself growing with the company, which was something that I didn't have before with my old job. One of the things that it has afforded me is meeting people from all over the world with different backgrounds. And in turn, it has helped me to improve my communication and leadership skills, dealing with different persons from different backgrounds every day. And that's one of the most important things that I've learned while working here.
Yeah. And I love that because, again, that's sort of putting people at the center of a digitally enabled business. And I think too often, like we said earlier, we're talking about the future of work in this sort of conceptual, abstract way, but remembering that there are working people like Christina, Shilpi, Wills, and Kirk's son, I'm assuming, behind him. Hi. We did not time that for comedy purposes, but that was very well played.
Perfect.
A cameo appearance. I love that. Yeah. But giving people the flexibility to have families, to work from home, that is such a key piece of this.
It is, yeah. And
go ahead.
It's Jamaica. I want to point out the reason we have a pretty big presence in Jamaica, and the reason for that is World Bank actually invited us to talk about digital work in Jamaica. So we went and like recruited several hundred people over a course of a year. So that just goes on to show kind of how much impact public sector can have on kind of point I'm making is public sector needs to be open to this. Governments need to support this as a way of job creation, especially in communities that have that are not in economic centers. We have seen a lot of Jamaica is a really good case study for that. Eastern Europe is a really good case study for that. So this is Jamaica especially has been the only reason we are there is because we were invited to be there, and now we have like 150 people that Jamaicans that are working with us that would not have happened.
Right.
So people were talking a little bit about how governments can take advantage of this. this is an ideal scenario.
Absolutely. And so public sector, private sector working together, aligning, just like you can use technology in a way to create more progress for people around the world. I think we need to figure out how to do that across sectors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool.
Well, with that, please join me in thanking Prayag and the entire LeadGenius team for sharing their experiences.
Thank you for joining us.
And with that, we'll hand it back over to Eric for some closing remarks. So thank you.